And one of the most effective strategies is when you're empowering your community members feel that sense, the beautiful sense of belonging into a community, but also they feel encouraged to take their own initiatives. And that's when I see a community actually growing, because it's growing with the members and it's not just me constantly trying to come up with new ideas. For me, building a community is like building an environment, a house. And so I'm inviting my guests that would eventually come and live with me, and they help me decorate the house.
Hey everyone, I'm super excited to chat with Claudia Cafeo today from No Code Ops. Claudia is the queen of community building and engagement. She's grown 2 communities to over 1,000 members each. They are very highly engaged and they interact with each other. In this episode, we talk about her onboarding, what she does to onboard new members, what she does to nurture them and keep them highly engaged in those communities fresh. I learned a lot that I'm applying to my own community for B2B podcasters. So if you are growing a community or thinking about starting one, this is the episode for you. Okay, help me grow my podcast and YouTube channel. You can hit that subscribe button below. It only takes a quick second. All right, now let's jump into the conversation with Claudia. Claudia, welcome to Innovators Can Laugh. How are you doing today?
Yeah, very well. Super excited. Happy to be here. So thank you for inviting me, Eric.
Yeah, my pleasure. We got the opportunity to meet in person a couple of months ago. Look for Jack the Ripper in London. We didn't catch him, but we learned a lot about him though, right?
That was such a cool activity. I actually had no idea you could do such quests and games in London. So thank you for showing me that. We had a great time. But yeah, we didn't catch him, unfortunately, but we did learn a ton.
Today, we're going to learn a lot about community building. But before we talk about that, I have a few questions for you. The first one, Claudia, what is something that most people do not know about you, and they're not going to see this on your LinkedIn profile?
Interesting, because I feel like I overshare on my LinkedIn profile. Probably that I'm a pianist. I haven't shared that on LinkedIn. So I did study classical music as a child, and classical pianos. I love playing the piano as well as a couple more instruments, guitar, ukulele. Yeah, anything that basically creates a sound, I pick it up and I explore.
Yeah. Was it your parents' influence that got you into music, or did you just find it yourself?
I started when I was 5, so definitely my parents, but it worked out well because I loved it. Whereas they tried with my sister, they tried violin and she did not like it as much as I did. I kept on playing, she didn't, but definitely sometimes I feel like parents have to suggest a couple of activities for you and then you pick up the one that fits you the most. Like, for example, they also tried to enroll me into ballet. That didn't work. That didn't work out really well. And so as an alternative, I was like, hey, Mom, how about karate, martial arts? Because that's more of my vibe. And so I started doing martial arts when I was 7.
Okay. You like it?
Yeah, I loved it. So story of my life, I always get to just about the end of everything. So piano, I never really graduated. I can play. I can satisfy my soul, which is why I play. Yeah. But I never got the certification, like ran off from the exam. And then same with karate, I got up to the brown belt, which is the one just before the black one. And then you get that you're established karate woman. I don't know, karate kid. But then I got to the brown belt and that's it. I stopped there. So I'm always like one step before reaching the end line.
With martial arts, I feel like it doesn't matter what belt you have. What matters is if you're out one night and somebody attacks you or your partner, are you able to defend yourself? Has that ever happened in a situation like that?
Luckily not. But I do fantasize in my head sometimes when I'm outside. Oh, what would I do right now in a situation like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to know. It's good to know. And actually here in London, it's great that, for example, around Women's Day, there's a lot of institutions that promote like free classes on that day, like personal defense. And it's really good. It's a skill that every woman should know, unfortunately. But it's very useful.
Yeah. I took my wife to a Krav Maga class years ago.
That's the one. Yeah.
And I think she went to 1 or 2 and she said it really wasn't for her, but I was glad that she went because at least it was a good lesson, I think.
Yeah, it's good to know. It's just your first day training. It's good to know. You never know what might happen.
Exactly. Okay, other question for you. What is the craziest thing you ever did to either save money or make money?
Oh my God. I started counting on the cappuccinos that I was having every day. Like coffees in London, they're expensive, right? And so I was
Yes.
like, okay, I need to cut it down. 3 cappuccinos a day is not sustainable here.
No.
And so I realized that by cutting it down to one, I would have saved something like £12,000 a year.
Oh my God. 12,000 pounds? I believe you. I was there a few months ago and I was surprised that one cafe latte was like 5 pounds.
Yeah.
One.
So if you have three per day,
You might as well open
first off,
you open your own coffee store.
which I thought about it, but maybe when I retire, that would be a lovely thing to do.
Yes, yes. Okay, okay. Next question. Fill in the blank. I grew up in blank, and my favorite thing about that city is blank.
So I grew up in Sicily, which is an island. And so the little town is called Milato. And so what I love the most about Milato is the beautiful sea and one of the most amazing sunsets I've ever seen. So yeah, it's very close to my heart, that place. I try to go back every year.
Okay, nice. Beautiful sunsets are a wonderful thing. I'm going to go to Greece next week, and I'm hoping to catch some good sunsets over there.
I'm sure you will. It's the same kind of Mediterranean
Yeah.
sea.
Okay, last rapid fire. What is the best advice your mom or dad ever gave you?
Lots of parenting questions here. Let me see. Because I left home actually when I was 18. That I need to really go back in time. But I guess they always focus on health. So sometimes they hear me stressing because of work or just like life in general, and they're always helping me focus on my actual health. And they're like, Claudia, you're a healthy person, and right now that's not for granted. Don't worry about anything else. As long as your health is in a good state, your mental health is in a good state, you're fine compared
Yeah,
to the majority of people out there. Okay, yeah, that's actually really true.
totally agree. Totally agree. Okay. All right. So let's dive into community building. Can you tell us some strategies that you found very effective when it comes to building and nurturing communities? And you can talk a little bit about how you created your community and what you're doing right now.
Absolutely. And as I love community, even though I didn't start my career as a community manager, I actually used to be a primary school teaching assistant for 8 years. And so I feel like I've transferred lots of those skills from education into community building. And if I were to, I like to say like the 3 C's of community, which are like collaboration, consistency, and Claudia, because I'm community. No, I'm joking, and care. And so I'm always trying to implement those three C's. And so in terms of collaboration, I love to see my community members interact and collaborate. And for me, that's also a way to empower them. And one of the most effective strategies is when you're empowering your community members, feel that sense, the beautiful sense of belonging into a community, but also they feel encouraged to take their own initiatives. And that's when I see a community actually growing, because it's growing with the members and it's not just me constantly trying to come up with new ideas. For me, building a community is like building an environment, a house. And so I'm inviting my guests that would eventually come and live with me, and they help me decorate the house. In terms of consistency, you have to constantly show up. There's a misconception that building community is easy. And so what I've noticed as well is that people just think that they'll open a platform, pick a platform, and people will magically populate that platform and show up every day. No, you have to be there. You have to show that care, which is my third point, and consistency. Even though it might just be you at the very beginning, if you're hosting a hangout, a live stream, however you manage your community, you have to be there for your community members. You have to feel the room. You have to see what's missing, what's not missing, how are they feeling, constantly evaluate the experience of your community members and care about them, get to know them. I make a point of connecting one-to-one with all the community members that I approve into my communities. And just for reference, I'm the founder of Floxy's community, which is a community for women in UX, UI design and Webflow. But I also work full-time as a community manager for No Code Ops, which is a professional community for people working in ops, operations, and leveraging no code and automations. all those people that join my communities, I try to connect with them and I look at their profile, try to get to know them as much as I can, because I don't care too much about the numbers that we have. I care about the quality and the people. And if you ask me about the success of a community, for me is to really see that journey of somebody joining. And then if I know that, if I get to know you and your skills, and then, for example, you're looking for a job or to create some connections, you're going to be top of mind whenever I get approached by recruiters on LinkedIn or whoever asks me, like, Claudia, do you have anyone available? I can almost always think of somebody from my community, and I usually work as a bridge between the two.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. So I've got a community as a B2B podcasters. We're not very big. I think there's only 25 of us. And for the first time recently, I asked them to give me feedback, what things I can do to make the community better. What do they feel that's missing? And some of the feedback was having more special guests that could speak at our monthly meetups. And I
Mhm.
thought that was very, very powerful because I didn't really think that was a big thing. But looking at what a lot of members were saying, that was a pretty big deal. So for you, I know you when you do your onboarding, you have this one-to-one, but are you also doing something for current community members and trying to solicit feedback? And if so, like how often?
Yes, so I like that you were saying that you asked for feedback for the first time. How did you feel? Because whenever I do my community surveys, I always feel like an open heart operation. Oh my God, what are they going to say? They're going to say they hate it. I'm
Yeah.
going to feel really
Yeah.
bad. So I try to do it at least minimum once a year. Ideally, you might want to do it maybe once a quarter, but you don't want to overwhelm people as well. Do it when it feels right. If you're at the very beginning, you will talk to them every day. You don't have to formalize it in the form of a form, like what's missing was not missing, because you're adding an extra sort of barrier to their engagement. Oh, okay, I just joined the community and after a week I have to fill in another form thinking about what's
Yeah.
missing. I don't know, because I haven't been there for so long. So I guess just do it when it makes sense to you, when you feel like it's necessary. But after, definitely do it after 6 months maybe of being active, and once a year would be great. I try not to overwhelm my community members because there's so much. We're getting our inboxes are flooded every day with newsletters and
Yeah.
all sorts of things.
Yeah. How often are you in the community and what is it? Is it a Discord? Is it a Slack group? And are you in there every day, like posting different content? Can you tell us about
Every
that?
day. Every single day. I'm slightly obsessed. I have it on my phone. So, yes, my communities are built on Discord and I build them from scratch. I build the server. I take a lot of pride on how well structured the server looks. And I am in it every day, sometimes at night. And it's not healthy. Don't do that. I just love it. It's like an addiction. It's just another, almost like a social media, but I like hanging out with my community members and I just want to know if they're doing well, how they're doing, check in on their careers or whatever it is. And so, yeah, consistency, but do it in a healthy way. Maybe balance is the key.
Yeah. And this check-in, are you actually going in there and like tagging people and just asking like, hey, how's it going? Different questions like that. Tell us.
Yes, so I have a few community rituals. So every Monday I run a community weekly check-in. I tag everyone and I send them a template with 3-4 different questions every week, like how are you today, how was your weekend, and then I always go into tell me one project that you're working on this week, how can the community help you, or and then I always like to end on a completely different question. Pizza, like pineapple on pizza, yes or no, something like that, just a hot take. Or I share some sort of positive quote for them, an affirmation quote. I like to end on a completely different note. And then every Tuesday at No Code Ops, I host community hangouts in our Discord. And so it's just an hour of networking, troubleshooting, and just an opportunity to connect with our community members. At Fluxies, I host live streams on a Wednesday, No Code Ops live stream on a Thursday. Consistency again is key, and I have to show up every week, and I host all these events every week. On a Friday, we also have a partnership with an automation agency called Pretty Simple. They're from South Africa and they host an automation brew event on a Friday as well as an office hour. So plenty of events, and I show up because if you don't show up, why should your members do that?
I love this idea of tagging people, asking what are they working on? Is there something that somebody can help with in the community? Because we all know different people. We all have different skill sets and different talents. And the problem or obstacle that somebody's facing, more than likely somebody else has either been through that or has an idea for a solution. So I'm definitely going to steal that one. And I realized after just listening to you that I need to be more consistent and be in there more active and not just be waiting for somebody to pop in and ask a question. So
Hmm.
I may do like maybe even an inspiration quote or maybe just funny different questions like you asked, but anything that can just get more engagement. In terms of hosting the events, as I mentioned, one of the things on the feedback was having special guests. You guys have this partnership where you guys invited like an automation expert. Were there any other events that you hosted where you had special guests that really resonated with the members of the community?
Yeah, always. So something that I try to do, I try to identify the topics that are most relevant to the community. And then what I do after I identify that topic, I host a series of events. So, say, for example, documentation was a big topic in our community. And so I started looking for speakers that would be experts at that particular topic. And then I would host a mini series. So it wouldn't just be one event, it would be maybe 2 or 3 events showing that particular topic under different perspectives.
Got it.
Same thing with no code and AI, which was obviously a huge topic at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
And so I started looking for speakers that could help me create this little playlist of 4 events that all had to do with no codes and an AI use case. And so I try to not just get one speaker, but think of, okay, if somebody wants to master this topic, how many events would that require? How many speakers? And then I start looking on LinkedIn and find them.
What does that pitch look like when you're asking these speakers if they want to come and talk to the community? How does that wording look like? I'm just curious.
Just be yourself. Like what I usually do, I introduce myself. I tell them about the community that I've built and what we're aiming to do. And then I tell them about this idea of having this mini series, and I say to them something about the work that they've been doing. So obviously I look into their profile first to see if they're a good fit, and then I usually tell them something that I liked about what I saw. And I just tell them, hey, I really loved your piece on design systems, and I think that would be really relevant to our community. We're hosting a series about that particular topic. Would you be interested into being one of our guests? And
Okay.
usually I've had only positive responses. People are busy, obviously, so you have to approach them a few months in advance. If you want to host a series in May, you have to start outreaching for those speakers maybe in March. Yeah, so that you have a safe net.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
when you don't have a speaker, what I love to do, which is the fact that I don't have a speaker doesn't mean that what I'm about to say is less important, because I actually think is more important. But what I like to do is to invite actual members of the community to be my speakers. And so empower them and have them tell their stories or their journey, showcase a project that they've worked on, because everyone's got something to teach. I believe in collective growth, which is something that I always say. I think if I got to where I am today is because I was always open to listening and learning from other people, and it helped me gain all the skills that I use today. And so I didn't do anything special if not just listen and learn from other people. And so I really believe that everyone can do that, right?
Yep. Yep. I love this. I'm going to be reaching out to my podcasters because a lot of them have different stories, but different projects, things that they're working on too. So this is fantastic. A couple other questions for you. Have you ever thought about gamifying your community? Like one idea that I had is if a podcaster has done a certain number of campaigns or sponsorships from working with me, then they get maybe to a different level and they just get that recognition. I don't know if they did 3 campaigns, maybe I would send them like a free coffee or something like that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. But as gamification, is that something that's popped in your head for your community or you don't
Yeah,
really need it?
I was thinking about it yesterday actually, and it's something that I'm still debating on whether we need it or not, because I've had my communities for about over 3 years now, and we do have a layer of gamification at Floxy's. We use a metaverse where we build our virtual office. And so we get together with our little avatars, like 2D avatars. I don't know if you ever played, I don't know, Pokemon or something on Game Boy.
Yeah.
It looks really 2D pixelated art, and we've created our office there. And so it's really nice to hang out and work with people from all over the world. So that's our, I guess, our gamification aspect of it, and everyone's got access. But if you're thinking more about leveling and recognition, it's something that I was debating on because I don't know whether we need it or not. What I like to do, I host like challenges, or we have mentorships and ambassadors in the community. And so that's my way of kind of rewarding people that are active and that they're bringing value in the community. I reach out to them and I offer them a spot into becoming an ambassador, or I say to them, hey, I love the value that you're bringing into the community. Have you thought about applying to the mentorship? Like, you can become a mentor and mentor other people. And then obviously I post about that on social media. I help them grow a little bit, give them a little bit of visibility. You can invite them as your guests for your live streams if you have one. But I use that more of a sort of system that shows me how many messages they sent or something like that, which you can do. But just like for me, I haven't quite felt the need, but I do think about it from time to time.
Okay. Okay. What kinds of ways are you measuring the success of the community? Obviously, you have this engagement. If there's a lot of collaboration that's going on, a lot of people attending meetings, but is there like a metric or something that you look at to help gauge whether or not something is working? Maybe a specific initiative?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I was mentioning earlier, to see my community members grow and move into that path of joining the community, finding their crowd, getting the skills that they need, and eventually, if they are looking for a new role, they also get hired. And I've had about 10 people I helped by the community. I counted at least 10 people that have landed a new role thanks to either a connection that I've made or somebody in the community that saw what they were doing and hired them. And so it also, just last week at No Code Ops, I received 3 messages from 3 different members that told me, Claudia, I just wanted to let you know I got a new role thanks to that message you sent, or thanks to this, thanks to that. And so to me, that really fills my heart. And to me, that's like job done. When I can help other people and the community has a real impact in their lives, that's success. Obviously, you can look into insights and metrics and numbers of how many people visit your community every week and all that. But I also think that we're humans and people have different circumstances in their lives. And so you can't really compare somebody who works from home, who can be active in the community every day, with somebody who's got maybe 3 kids, has to go to the office 9 to 5, comes back home. That life is not going to be a member that's going to be in your community every single day. And so for me, it's really tricky to use that data, like to say, oh, I've had 30 people actively engaged this week. You really need to, it's hard to tell because, again, we all have different lives and you can't really beat yourself if 20 people are not in your community every single day because they might have different things to do. And rightfully, some people just use communities to get what they need. If they're struggling with something, they need help, that's when they join the community, or that's when they use it, when they open it. And some other people, under different circumstances, me, I work from home. I'm by myself in this woman cave every day. I love to be in my community every day because that's my way of interacting with other people. So different lives.
Yeah. Okay. I love this. And there's so many good nuggets here, things that I'm going to implement. When I think about a special guest, I should think about the topic and not just have one guest, but a series of different guests that could talk about that. Also inviting members of my own community that can talk about a specific project that they're maybe working on. I love that. And then also just being a little bit more active. Anything that I'm missing here? I know you've got mentorships and ambassadors. I don't think I'm at that level yet. Like, I've only got 25 members, but I feel like maybe once I get to closer to 100 members, that's probably something I should be thinking about. What do you think?
Yeah, or even a little bit higher, because your 100 members are still helping you build the structure to scale. So I think I launched the ambassador initiative when we got to the 1,000. And that was just like to celebrate, obviously reaching 1,000 members, but also now that we're 1,000 people, how can we scale even more? How can we reinforce the structure, the foundation of this community? And so that's when I was happy and very excited to choose these 12 people to help me. And so I think wait a little bit, really foster that collaboration with your first 100, with your first cohort of people that you have, because they're going to help you build the foundation again to what will come next. Yeah, I think so.
And is it a paid community, Claudia, or no?
No, both of them are free.
All right. And for
I'm really bad at business.
And for Flaxies, is the majority based in the UK? Most of the members, or are they all over?
All over. It's global. So I would say we have a majority for sure between UK and US, but both of them are global communities. I guess for me, when I try to outreach, I try to find people around me first so that I can also meet them in real life for hangouts and meetups, because they're really effectful as well. They have an impact. And as much as we love hanging out online and virtually, nothing beats a good coffee with a friend.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to meet a few members, both of Floxy's and No Code Ops community in person. And it just creates an even stronger bond when you do that.
Yeah.
I do have lots of people here in London because I'm here. I'm based in London. And then a few people in the US because my company is based in Atlanta, Georgia. So whenever I travel, I'm like, hey, I'm here. Who's around? So I get to see them too.
Awesome. Claudia, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
For everybody listening, I'm going to put links to Claudia's community as well as her LinkedIn profile in the show notes. And if you enjoy this, tell others about it. Hit that subscribe button. And that's really one of the only ways that we can grow the show. Until then, this is Eric signing off, and I'll be back next week.
Thank you so much, Eric. This was really fun.
For me too. Cheers.
Bye. Cheers.